The content of Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo, powered by 710 Radio, is intended for general information purposes only. It is not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional services, or any advice. The programs are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individuals with health problems should always consult their healthcare provider for professional medical advice, medications, and/or treatments. Kingdom of Healing also does not promote anyone's individual practices, programs, agendas, particular treatments, healthcare programs, providers, hospitals, and/or medical centers. The views expressed by show host and their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Kingdom of Healing. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. We encourage you to always seek professional advice or care for any problems which you may have. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to the Kingdom of Healing or 710 Radio or the show hosts whose words and or opinions appear from or on this radio show.
Live on iHeartRadio, powered by 710 Radio. This is The Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo. So grab you a pen and a paper, kick your feet up, and get ready for some serious knowledge to be dropped on you. Because Kimberly Mateo is a nationally certified naturopath, master herbalist, iridologist, a nutritionist, and a holistic healer since 1977. She shares 35 plus years of knowledge and experience to listeners who are interested in learning and overcoming health challenges naturally. So without further delay, here is the host of your show, Kimberly Mateo.
Hi, this is Kim Mateo. Thank you for joining me today on Kingdom of Healing. Today I kind of want to talk about, the kids are back at school and school lunches and what you can pack them in their lunch. Some herbs to have on hand if you're, especially if you're parents who've chose to not vaccinate. It's really good to have on hand the golden seal echinacea. That is a extract that is in a vegetable glycerin. There's a little alcohol in that to extract those properties from the golden seal and the echinacea. And it's really good to have on hand if they're coming home with some sniffles or running a low temp. The other thing is plenty of vitamin C, and we've got the chewable vitamin C's that are like 250 milligrams. So it's really good to give your little ones the 2 or 3 vitamin C's before they go to school in the morning. And of course we've got the Hero blend, Sunshine Heroes, that is the very potent antioxidant-based vitamins. The Elderberry Plus, which is something that elderberries help viruses to not attach to the cell. So it is something that they can be given every single day. You don't want to give children every day golden seal and echinacea. You just want to use that if they're coming home and they're not feeling good and running a fever, tummy ache, something like that, and you suspect that they've picked something up at school, because you need to remember that a lot of those children have siblings. So your child is in a classroom sitting next to a child that's sneezing and touching everything, and maybe there's 2 or 3 siblings at home, and maybe they're in school also. So you need to remember that it's not just what's going on with that child, it's also maybe whatever they've been exposed to that their siblings have been exposed to in school as well. So, the other thing too, teachers really can't handle normal, healthy children. They want them. They think they're too busy. Some children just have lots of questions and an inquisitive mind, and it's kind of irritating in the classroom. And my fear, and one thing that I hear all the time from parents is, the teachers wanting them put on Ritalin to keep them calm and quiet in the classroom. There's a wonderful product that we have that you can find these things on kingdomofhealing.com, and you just go to the search bar and type in like the Elderberry Plus or the Golden Seal Echinacea, and that'll bring you to all of the products that have the Golden Seal Echinacea. And for the children, I just recommend the extract. We do have them in capsules if they're able to swallow down a capsule. But, the vitamins and minerals, the probiotics, those are one way to really keep the immune system healthy and strong. The probiotic 11, I really like those. There's more than 10 strains. There's more than 10 billion. There's more than 10 billion of the good bacteria that needs to be in the gut.
So, I'm sorry, before you get too far,
okay,
because you were talking about the kids and the Ritalin.
Oh, yeah. Okay, focus attention.
There was a report out just several days ago that saying that there's like 6 million kids misdiagnosed with ADD, ADHD.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just to give them that Ritalin and
right.
It's much more than that, But,
right.
Finally, to see a report saying that, they're too quick to be judged with that.
Exactly. And there was something that, I heard on the radio that the CDC is saying that, there are more and more children being diagnosed with it because they think that parents are well informed and that the parents are noticing certain behaviors, and that this is why there is another increase in the ADD, ADHD diagnoses with children. I'm here to tell you, if you're feeding your child Kool-Aid, if you're feeding them things with all this pre-made, pre-packaged stuff that's filled with artificial flavorings, there's chemicals in there for preservatives. And I've talked about this before on the shows, that these preservatives that inhibit bacterial growth in these foods that have a shelf life for some ridiculous amount of time, that you're preparing these boxed foods and feeding them to your children. A lot of these preservatives that inhibit that bacteria, well, when you ingest them, they inhibit the culturing of the good bacteria in the gut. So it hinders that. Where's your immune system? The majority of it is in the immune system. So if you're taking in foods that have a lot of preservatives in them, it's depleting the good bacteria in the gut. And this is what's leading to so much of the leaky gut syndrome. And it starts at a very early age. I've talked about that a lot. The leaky gut, the gluten intolerance, the gluten, which is a protein in the wheat that is, it's not the grains that our grandparents and our great-grandparents consumed. These are grains now that are hybrid. They have been adulterated. They are spraying these crops with Roundup, and you need to remember as well, and I've talked about this before as well on the show, is that 1 year ago, the agricultural department gave Monsanto the okay to add the 2,4-D to the Roundup because the plants were becoming resistant to the Roundup. And that 2,4-D is the 50% component of Agent Orange. And you can look up anything on Agent Orange and see how horrific of a chemical that was and what it did to the DNA and to the offspring of our service people when they came home from the Vietnam War and had children. The food, you've got to be so careful. A lot of these school lunches, my granddaughter last year, she never had not one lunch that came from the school cafeteria. She took her lunch every single day. And that is goat cheese, vegetables, fresh, raw, organic vegetables, fresh, organic fruit, berries, mulberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, good quality yogurt. You need to be looking at those labels on the yogurt containers as well, because there's way too much sugar in them. That's not good either. So a lot of these behavioral problems with children, really, if you'll pay attention to what your children are eating, and within a half an hour you start having really bad behavior and they do not want to listen to anything that you're saying to them, I would really recommend that you look very closely at the ingredient label of what it was that they consumed. And a lot of that is a chemical reaction with the brain. These artificial flavorings and the colorings. And I did a show one time just on the food colors,
Right.
The food coloring. You can go back and go through the archives of the shows and find that one on the artificial flavorings and the colors, because they're dangerous to your children's health and as well as to yours.
Right, and because on Facebook here lately, we've been seeing a lot of those type of cakes, like a Pink Floyd cake with the different layers of all the different colors of the rainbow.
God, they make me sick when I look at those. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's not good. It's not good. And then all the frostings, it's all sugar. Powdered sugar is powdered sugar and cornstarch, and you know what? They're not using that makes powdered sugar is finely blended sugar, which is beet sugar, or it's from corn. But most of the sugar is the white sugar is made from beets, and all of the beets, they're genetically modified.
But they're losing their battle.
They are starting to.
Battle, man,
People.
it's nice to see.
It is, because I've said this before. We seem overwhelmed with everything that's going on out there, and you feel like you don't have a voice. And sometimes, it is hard. I mean, I've been down there to the Capitol, and I've done grassroots legislative work. It takes a lot to get through these legislators to them as to what's going on with the food supply and wanting to domineer our health with thinking that they know what's best for us. It's like all the vaccine stuff, and I'm an anti-vaxxer. I think that it is ludicrous what is going on out there with the witch hunt against the people that are the anti-vaxxers. And I'm here to tell you, it's not the unvaccinated child that's going to make your child sick.
Right.
It's not.
Look at the Amish.
Yeah.
Their children
Very
are
healthy.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
They don't vaccinate.
Yeah.
They don't have the autism. They don't have all the other problems
cancers
that we have out here in our, I don't know what the correct word would be, our
in our general
society.
Our advanced society. Yeah, it's pretty silly because it's just like coming over today to do the show. I passed the fireman with the boot, collecting up money for muscular dystrophy. Here's another sad reality. You're supporting the researchers. That's who you're supporting. You are supporting the research doctors. You're keeping them employed. It's, some of them are third generation doctors that have a job right there doing the research. It's job security. And muscular dystrophy, for the amount of money that has been raised over the past decades, they're really not making any advancements. It's kind of like with cancer. There are plenty of things that work for you to overcome cancer. But you also need to understand there's no money in natural remedies.
Right.
Not for the pharmaceutical industry, not when they spend millions of dollars on developing a poison, which it is. I mean, all chemo is poison. Unfortunately, so many people die from the treatment before they die from their cancer, or they die from, whatever ailment. But there are websites where you can go to monitor where all of that money is going, one organization after another. The majority of it goes to administration fees. A very small percentage actually is donated for the research. So, and it's really pretty much the same thing with the muscular dystrophy. And that's where enzymes are so important. Enzymes are needed for breaking down all of the nutrients that you're consuming. Quality proteins, not feeding the body the proteins, animal proteins that come from animals that have been inoculated and all the antibiotics in their feed. This is another reason for these just mega strains of everything now, because your body has such a resistance to the antibiotics by consuming the animals that have been fed all of these antibiotics in their feed, because our liver has to process that as well that comes from the animals. So chia seeds are a great source of protein. Hemp seed is really one of the best. That can be mixed in with my kids and my grandchildren have always enjoyed smoothies, and a lot of those things you can mix those up into that, or add even open and empty herbs, make the juice, and then open and empty whatever herbs it is that maybe don't come in a liquid form and they're in a powdered capsule form. You can open and empty those and just stir it into the juice and have them drink it. If they drink that within 15 minutes, there's no bad aftertaste from the herbs, unless you're throwing valerian root in it or something which smells and tastes pretty bad, or Oregon grape, which is, whoa, it'll take your breath away. It's so awful. Back to like the children who are having a problem sitting still in their seat. We have an extract called STR-J, the stress J, and that's in a liquid, and it works great for the children who can't swallow capsules. Otherwise, we do have it in capsule form for the children that are older that can swallow it. And what that is that is a nervine combination that calms down and relaxes you internally. Takes care of that fidgeting and anxiety. Focus attention. We have one specifically that is for children, and it's grape flavored, and it has a little scoop, tiny little scoop. You don't need much of it, but it balances the chemical structure in the brain. For a child that has a hard time in the classroom with focusing and sitting still, and actually, I've seen ADD children that have been labeled ADD, and then the children that really are ADD, I mean, their hands are flailing. I mean, they're sitting on their hands. There is complete, very different behavior with them than a child that is just excited about something or has a lot of questions about something because they're interested in it. We really have to, you've got to look at the food supply. You've got to look at what you're feeding them. And it's not that hard to send them with a lunch that is nutritious. I've been moving for the last 5 weeks, and it's been really overwhelming. But on next week's show, I'll share with you the Facebook page that my niece Rosanna put together, and she lives in Austin, Texas, and she works at the juice bar at Whole Foods, at one of the Whole Foods in Austin. She's just an awesome mommy. Kyan, her son, everything that she feeds him, she is so meticulous about what she feeds him. And as I look at those pictures that she posts, she's got a good balance of protein and complex carbohydrates there for him to eat. And if there's any of you out there listening that have small children or children and grandchildren, and you're wanting some pointers on how to feed them and what to feed them and what to pack them in a lunch, my niece Rosanna's Facebook group page would be a good one to join. But I've been really busy, and that has been in the back of my mind. I've got to get that Facebook group name so I can share that with you, and I'll have that next week, because she's really got it going on, and I'm really proud of her because of how she feeds Kyan. And her mom, my sister-in-law Tricia, is she's a homeopath, very well versed in homeopathic remedies. She had a health food store years ago. So Rosanna was raised this way, with herbs and homeopathics and organic food. They have this just awesome, huge garden. It's all organic. So I'll share that with you next week, and it will really help those of you out there that are really struggling with, how do I get this in balance to make sure that they are getting enough protein, they are getting enough, you want the complex carbohydrates, because those break down slower in the system. A simple carbohydrate is white sugar and white flour, and those things are rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, usually pretty immediately. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you're noticing some type of behavior that's unbecoming of the child, but you need to understand that they don't like how they feel either. I mean, could you imagine just outwardly you're seeing this fidgetiness and this argumentative and not being able to focus? How do you think they feel inside? They don't feel good.
And they
inside.
don't understand it.
And they do not understand it. And that's why it is your responsibility to make sure that they are eating good foods. And another thing is it teaches them at a very early age about the importance of the type of food selections, because our food is our medicine. It's important that, children that grow up eating or start out with lots of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, they grow up to be adults that continue to eat fruits and vegetables. If you're passing your child a hot dog all the time, and macaroni and cheese, and Fruity Pebbles, and all of those cereals and stuff that have artificial flavorings and colorings in them, you really develop them into being very picky eaters, where you never see any vegetables. They won't eat any vegetables, and if they eat fruit, it's really very limited. So it's awesome for me to see that my youngest one, who's 30, who was raised with a lot of herbs poked down him. I mean, he was 3 when he told me he wanted me to teach him how to swallow a capsule. He didn't like all of those extracts and stuff. I mean, it's one way to funkify what you're drinking real quick because of the way some of them taste. Or just, okay, I'll just open my mouth and squirt it in my mouth and let me get this over with as quickly as I can, instead of putting in the food and then, wow, you have all this food to eat that doesn't taste good. So I do always recommend that small amount of applesauce, a couple tablespoons, or a couple tablespoons of yogurt, and put it in there, and then you get it over with pretty quick. It's not too awful. I was really strict about what he consumed, and he has a 3-year-old. They're very strict about what she consumes. It's amazing to see this 3-year-old absolutely love all vegetables.
Wow.
All fruits. I mean, for breakfast she'll have a banana and mixed berries. In a couple of hours later, she'll have some vegetables. She will sit down and eat a salad. She prefers a salad over cooked meat. She'll eat her salad. And water. She drinks lots of water. She's never had any Kool-Aid. I mean, Kool-Aid is something that my kids and my grandkids, that was something that by the time they were a teenager or something, they had it at somebody else's house. And then wanted to come home. Wow, yeah, this really tasted good, as they're like bouncing off the wall. And it's like, well, what was it? Well, it tasted like whatever, and and they did use, I watched their mom make it, and she did put sugar in it, and use the tap water, and it's like, don't do that, don't drink that. So it's like Danny, who's 30, he was about 7 when he had his first Twinkie.
Wow.
He was 7. Really, they don't miss it if they've never had it.
True.
Once you feed it to them. And my mom thought that was really funny. I showed up to pick him up, and she's like, hey, tell your mom what you got to have today. And she's just like giggling, and it's like, I look at him and I says, well, what'd you have today, Danny? And he said, well, Grandma gave me this thing that it was like cake, but it didn't have frosting, and it had this filling inside. And I'm looking at my mother like, what did you give him? And she said, he had his first Twinkie. And it's like, really, thanks a lot. He's not going to miss it if he's never had it, but I nipped that one in the bud real quick. No Twinkies for you, dude. He was busy as it was, and you didn't need to add anything like that into his diet. Kids can grow up without those types of foods in their diet.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the vaccines. Garlic is something good to have on hand. It's nature's antibiotic. Make sure that you're cooking with a lot of garlic. Onions as well. And I know a lot of children don't like onions. So that's one of those things that if you take a quarter of an onion and whiz that through the blender, it pretty much pulverizes it, and there's no trace of any pieces of it. And just take a spatula and get that out of there, and put that into your food, so that they can't be thrown a fit over the onions. But it's a natural sulfur food, and that it's a natural sulfur, so it's a natural antibiotic. Onions are really good. Onions, garlic. Back to the herbs to have on hand, the elderberry plus, the golden seal echinacea. There's the silver salt, the nano silver. The 16-ounce bottle wholesale is like $42, which is really a really good deal for the price on that. It is pretty high parts per million, and the best thing to do with that is half a teaspoon to a teaspoon 2 or 3 times a day if they're not feeling good or they come home not feeling good. I've used a couple of drops of it down in the ear when their ears are bothering them, and just put it in the ear that is bothering them the most and have that ear up and have them just lay on their side for 8 minutes, and it kills any bacteria or virus that's in the ear.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dr. Gordon Pedersen, who is behind the Nano Silver, is a infectious disease medical doctor and was with World Health Organization for about 15 years. So he was one of the infectious disease doctors with WHO. This is his baby. This is his company. And they supply all of that silver to the company that you find all the products with, thekingdomofhealing.com. There's also we now have a ointment that is a concentrated ointment for wound dressing. So deep punctures, any type of cleaning of wounds that you have to do, it's very stable. It can be put on the bandages and works a little better than just doing the liquid. I mean, before we would just put it in a spray bottle and spray the wound area, and the healing is really very quick with that. We've got the silver gel. Those products can all be found on the kingdomofhealing.com website. You just have to go to that search bar and put the name of the product in there. The other thing that children have a hard time with at school is going to the bathroom. And one of the worst things that children can do at an early age is, if they're constipated and they can't go to the bathroom, they're not going to ask to go to the bathroom in the classroom and be gone from the classroom for 15, 20 minutes. They're just not going to do that. It's too embarrassing. But if you have their water intake up to really what it should be, and water is handled differently in the body than doing it in juices or other types of beverages. So the rule of thumb is whatever your body weight is, the amount of water you need is you convert that, divide that in half and convert that to ounces. And that's how many ounces of water that they need a day. The next thing is enough fiber in their diet, and you're going to get that from enough raw vegetables and fruits that are in their diet. You don't need the fiber in some multigrain bread that probably isn't really that quality of grains anyway. And you do get into the gluten problem with the breads. Okay, you'll get more fiber from 3 or 4 carrots than you will from 2 pieces of bread.
Oh, wow.
There's more fiber in the carrots, or broccoli, celery. And a lot of times these are things that children will eat in their lunch. If you're going to make a dressing for them, if you're going to give them a dressing, make the dressing. Those commercial bought dressings are full of so many different stabilizers and emulsifiers and chemicals and stuff that you don't want them dipping all of these organic vegetables into commercial ranch dressing. I can't believe the amount of ranch dressing that children consume, and it's straight out of a bottle. And you can look that up online, and you can pull a recipe for a homemade ranch dressing. And there are enough things. Use honey in it to sweeten it in place of sugar. Use real fat. Use coconut oil. Use butter. Use light olive oil. Virgin light olive oil doesn't have a real heavy taste, and it works really, really well in making homemade dressings. If they like the Italian ones, they're really easy. I cannot swallow any of that commercial made salad dressings that you, especially the Italian ones that you pull off the shelf, because it's just so easy to make homemade salad dressings. It's very, very easy. And if you want it creamy, add an organic mayonnaise. And there's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of brands out there that you can buy. And you don't want to be using canola oil either, because canola comes from the rapeseed. And if you look up the rapeseed, RAPE, it's toxic. It's a poison. So why would you want to consume an oil made from the rapeseed? Olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, sesame oil, butter. Those are the best things that you can use for an oil. As far as children, they don't know any different as to what kind of oils you're using. Sweeteners, honey is excellent. If you're using a sugar that's already granulated, then you need to make sure that you're buying pure cane sugar that's non-GMO and is organically raised. I mean, that sugar is okay. Molasses has a pretty strong taste of its own. It's kind of like stevia. It does have a taste that kind of stays with you, an aftertaste. So honey and organic pure cane sugar is a good alternative to be using with things that you're making up for the children. In order for it to be palatable, they come back and they want more of it. So peanut butter, organic peanut butter is another good thing. And you don't need to put that peanut butter on bread. Send them with a little peanut butter and have them dip their celery sticks in it. We seem to think that everything's got to be a sandwich, everything has to be chips, everything has to be these fruity drinks and juices that are so high in sugar. And even Kool-Aid makes a little pouch or a little box that you can put in their lunch. It's like, no, don't do that. Get them a container and send them with water. If you go to the Facebook page, there is the link and the telephone number for the alkaline water machine. And I can't encourage that enough with the alkaline water, because I've talked a lot about that before too on the shows, is the pH balancing. Fastest way to get your system into pH is with the water that you're consuming. Back with the vaccines, the children that are vaccinated can still be contagious for a minimum of 2 weeks after they have received their vaccination. It's called shedding. They're more of a danger to the children, the unvaccinated children, than an unvaccinated child is to a child that is vaccinated. I didn't vaccinate my children, and my grandchildren haven't been vaccinated. And they're really very well. Very well. They're not sickly. My youngest one is 30. The kid, he picked up chicken pox. So what? All children get chicken pox. It's better for them to get them when they're little.
I mean, I think they still have chicken pox parties.
Yeah, and it should be. It should be. We didn't die from chicken pox when we were children. We didn't die from measles. It was just like with the measles scare back last winter.
Right.
At Disneyland. From December until the end of April, at that period of time, no children had died of the measles, but 5,400 children had been diagnosed with autism. And there are things going on right now. There is a grand jury investigation going on right now with the CDC. And it has to do with Dr. Thomas coming forward about the studies being altered
Oh, yeah.
in order for the study to be published in JAMA. It goes on a lot. So to say that, oh, well, I'm standing strong in scientific research, I'm not paying attention to any of that anecdotal information out there that's been passed on for centuries. It's like, you know what? I'd rather listen to and use things that have been passed down for generations, that there's a consistency of using specific herbs for certain challenges going on with your health, than to believe lock, stock, and barrel in all of this supposed scientific research that so many times is altered. And it's altered so that they can either get FDA approval, they can get it published in peer-reviewed scientific publications, and then to find out that vital, important things were omitted from that publication. So I think that it's kind of no different than if you get a bee sting, immediately slapping some good old mud pack on it to pull the stinger out.
Right.
It works. There are so many things that can be used to help you maintain and overcome any kind of health challenges in the herbal kingdom. Some of the things to have on hand with the children for stomach aches is the liquid chlorophyll. Calms the stomach immediately. There's the papaya mint. If their stomach bothers them a lot, we have the digestive bitters. And those work really, really well for children if there's some pancreas or some liver issues going on. My niece that is a transplant nurse said that at the hospital where she is at, you couldn't find a Tylenol if you thought it was going to save your life. The hospital does not use any Tylenol whatsoever for anything.
Right on.
Because the number one cause of children having liver transplants is Tylenol. It's the acetaminophen that shuts down those coffer cells in the liver and puts the liver into liver failure.
Right, well, that's why a lot of kids are allergic to it.
Yeah.
I know my youngest son is.
Is allergic to Tylenol?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a blessing in disguise to be allergic to it. But there's natural occurring aspirin in white willow, and there's a product called APS with white willow, and that will bring a fever down, takes care of their pain, takes care of the inflammation, takes care of the fever. And that's one of those things where you need to open and empty one capsule per 50 pounds of weight, one capsule, stir that up into about a tablespoon of applesauce, and just have them eat it. 1 tablespoon is not that horrible to get down. And of course that's organic, unsweetened applesauce. So, and mix that up into that. But, and then, the alkaline water, getting that pH into balance, because I've talked about it before, is that when we are in an acidic pH, that gives opportunity for viruses and bacteria to multiply in the body. So it's really important that you get the kids drinking the alkaline water as well. Good bowel elimination through the enough fiber in their diet. There's psyllium husks. You can open and empty a capsule of psyllium into some fresh juice. That also helps with some fiber if they're not able to consume enough vegetables or fruits. Pineapple is amazing for digestion. And it's good to send them with a couple slices of pineapple. Have them eat that first. Eat that pineapple first. Yeah.
Pineapple. So
yeah.
I can just stare and eat it.
And by eating the pineapple being the first thing that they eat, those enzymes that are present in the pineapple, they get down there into the stomach, and so when the rest of the food comes down, you've got a little boost to enzymes that help with digesting the food. And I think that children that have a good healthy breakfast, start them out with a couple of organic eggs for breakfast, turkey bacon or something. Start them out with some protein so that they've got some energy and their little brain is working and they're ready to go. And I've talked with teachers over the years, and some of them that are very in tune with nutrition, they've always told me that reading, math, and science, they do those in the morning. Because when the children come back from lunch, they're yawning, they're tired, their attention span is waning.
Right.
They don't get as much mental production out of them after they've had lunch. But look at what some of those school lunches are. I think they're pathetic.
They've taken a lot of the school activities away too, like
they have,
and don't give them the gym and proper things like that. So I can understand why they would get tired.
Right. I don't know. It was a lot different when we were growing up. We had art, we had music, we had recess a couple times a day. We had it in the morning, we had it after lunch, we had it in the afternoon. You need a break.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing is vitamin A and D. One little A and D caplet before they go to school in the morning. The vitamin D helps with their immune system. The A protects the liver, it protects the eyes. When the children are sitting underneath those fluorescent lights in the classroom, those also drains their energy. It zaps the vitamin A in their body.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that part.
Yeah, so it's best to let your child know that if there are windows in their classroom, try to see if they can take a seat by the window so that they're more affected by the natural light.
Right.
Okay, and the vitamin D from that natural sunlight that their body's able to manufacture on its own when you're exposed to enough sunlight. I think that it's really important that they get their days started off right. And the Sunshine Heroes has a line of the omega-3s. And they're like they're all like gummy bears. They're gummies. They're very, very good. And the base of them is mangosteen and a variety of different high antioxidant fruits and vegetables. They're really delicious. The only drawback is if you have children any allergies to, say, strawberries, or you just need to go online and take a look at the superhero line and make sure that when you're looking at all of those ingredients that there's not, because there's quite a variety of fruits and vegetables as a base in that line for children, and just make sure that there's not something in there that your child is allergic to. The papaya mints are great for any type of digestive problems, stomach issues, a little anxiety, not wanting to go to school. It's like the stomach ache. I have a stomach ache. How many times is a stomach ache used over the course of the school year of them not wanting to go to school. Give them a
Right.
papaya mint. They chew that up. It calms the stomach down, and they get a different attitude about going to school. That anxiety of going. And again, I can't stress enough that's STRJ. It will calm them down, but it will not put them to sleep.
Okay.
It's not something like we have Nerve 8, which is pretty potent for anxiety and nervous system problems. The Anxiousless. Anxiousless is like that product. Take 2 of those and you feel like you had a Valium. They are specifically for anxiety. But that's a little potent for a child. We've got the nerve control, which I consumed a lot of nerve control and a lot of Nutricalm with the moving. It's overwhelming, and it's like you kind of look around your place and you think, oh, well, okay, yeah, we'll have the movers come in, and yeah, they'll get all this big stuff out, and we got our boxes, and yeah, this isn't going to be too bad. It's like you get into it and you realize how horrible it is because, wow.
Right.
Wow.
It's amazing how things collect over the years.
It is amazing. So I just kept looking at all that stuff going, wow, how can these people live in these tiny houses? I guess if you only had a suitcase to your name, a tiny house would work. I mean, that's how it would work for me. So laptop in a suitcase. Yeah, I can do a tiny house. Yeah. But anyway, back to the children. If they're having some problems with performance in the classroom, too much performance, class clown, can't sit still, you want to make sure that their desk is by the natural light, by the window. Pack them a lunch that is really nutritious and has organic, fresh fruits and vegetables in there. Focus attention. Wonderful product. The teachers notice a difference with the children within 2 to 3 days on the focus attention. And it's just one little scoop. You put that into 4 ounces of water, stir it up. It's grape flavored. Have them drink it. It balances the chemical structure in the brain. And you get wonderful, calm behavior out of the children. Because these drugs that they want to use to manipulate their behavior, 10, 12 years of those medications going into their bodies. It's there was a study that was published about 20 years ago, and it had to do with children that were on Ritalin for 5 years or more, and they took a particular age bracket, 18 to 24, and looked at all of these young adults, 18 to 24, who had developed lymphoma. And the common denominator with this age group of 18 to 24 young adults with lymphoma, the majority of those children had all been on a drug to prevent, calm them down, that had a diagnosis of ADD or ADHD. The majority of them had been on drugs for ADD and ADHD for a period of more than 5 years.
Wow.
So that was about 20 years ago that study came out. And that's very scary. I have a cousin that her son was very ADD. I mean, wow, over the top. I mean, he'd get on it about something, he was relentless, and that was as a young child. And he was on Ritalin for about 14 years. At 20, he was diagnosed with lymphoma. The other thing, too, is manipulating that, trying to manage behavior with a drug therapy. It really does set a lot of children into their adult life to being chemically dependent. This young man has a degree as a psychologist. Is not able to practice right now at the moment because of all of the psychological issues that he has going on. So, when you get licensing like that and then you have a nervous breakdown, that affects your license. You are not able to be working with your clients when you have had these emotional breakdowns. And there's a lot of chemical dependency that's going on. And sometimes the root of that can start with early management of chemical medications and the introduction of a lot of these simple carbohydrates, the sugar, what it does to the cell, what it does to viruses and bacteria in the body. It gives them opportunity to manifest in the body. And all of these, look at how people can become addicted to a certain drink. The chemicals in there, the sugar, the flavorings. We have to be very careful and keep their diet as clean as possible, because it's bad enough, and I've said it before, the amount of metric tons of toxins in the air, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that one. But also back to when I started to say about when you feel overwhelmed and that you don't have a voice. You do have a voice. And your actions are going to speak louder than anything. And it's when you go to that grocery store. It's in the clothes that you buy. It's when you, as an individual, make the decision to not purchase the foods that are crop dusted, and you select and you buy organic. And I'm really tired of hearing about how expensive organic is. I'm really, really tired of it. I'm really tired of it. Because when you make the commitment to feed your family right, you need to take a look at what those potato chips cost, what those corn chips cost, what all those cases of pop cost, what all those donuts, and I've said it before. The kids that are acting out the most in the grocery store, when you cruise on by mom or dad that's pushing the cart, take a glance what's in that cart.
Right.
There's your behavior problem. I just can't believe some of the junk. And when you show up at the grocery store, start out on the outer perimeter. Because your average grocery store has over 35,000 products on the shelf that you have no business consuming. So be a label reader. We've talked about that for decades. I was reading labels in the 80s with kinesiology, muscle testing, muscle response testing. My son Danny, sure, take him to the grocery store with me. Yeah, I want this. I've got to have it, Mom, please. So-and-so, they got it over at their house. Why can't I have it? Well, you know what? Let's muscle test you on it. He's the one that put it back on the shelf. Because he learned if he was muscle tested and he was weak and there wasn't any way he could muster up any strength whatsoever holding on to that product, he wasn't going to eat it. But things that he was strong on, sure, those can go in the cart. There's nothing wrong with getting your children to eat seeds and nuts, for munchies. And seeds and nuts that are always raw. You always want them raw. You don't want them roasted. We're not supposed to roast nuts. And actually peanuts, for peanut butter. It's a legume. It's not a nut. And it is improperly a peanut. is improperly prepared, it's roasted. What do you do with legumes? They're slow cooked. They're cooked in water. There's other butters than peanut butter. Cashew butter, almond butter. Put a little pinch of the pink Himalayan salt in that, just a little pinch in that, and use that as a nut butter instead of peanut butter. Plus, peanut butter a lot of times can have, it can have mold in it. There's a lot of other things, conditioners that they put in them that are not really, really good. So, herbal punch, that's another wonderful tasting drink for children. You've got the Tygo drink that is delicious, an ounce of Tygo before they go to school in the morning. 25-ounce bottle. It comes 2 bottles, 25 ounces. The ORAC value for an antioxidant is just off the chart. And there is not an antioxidant blend to drink out there that is as high in ORAC value as the Tygo. So that's a delicious drink as well. My older brother says it should be against the law because he can't drink 1 ounce. He drinks a bottle in about a day, and it's like, wow, this stuff is so good. But there are things that you can do to strengthen their immune system. Have a few things on hand. Golden Seal Echinacea, Elderberry Plus, the silver, the nano silver, silver shield, CBG for ear infections. But like I said, I prefer a couple drops of the nano silver down in the ear. Takes care of the ear infection immediately. ALJs, if there are a lot of congestion, remember sugar, flour products, cookies, pastries, pop, those things create mucus in the body. And to cut that mucus, there's a product called ALJ. Comes in tablets, capsules, as well as a glycerin-based extract as well, and it helps to break that down. CCA with yerba santa is another liquid glycerin-based herb that is combination that is very good for congestion and colds and flu-type symptoms. So just kind of look around there on the kingdomofhealing.com. Put those into the search bar, and I'll pull that up. And there's a lot of information sheets on them as well. And we're out of time for today. And next week I will bring you Rosanna's Facebook group page for those of you that are interested in getting some ideas on putting together some food combinations to feed your children and yourselves healthy.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Y'all take care and be back next week.